Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about the new education requirement for DEA licensure. At the end of 2022, Congress passed the Consolidation Act, and part of that act included the requirement for all providers who have a DEA registration/licensure, excluding veterinary medicine doctors, to be required to do an 8-hour one-time training prior to their next DEA renewal. The course is to help educate providers on the epidemic we're experiencing with opioid use or misuse or abuse, if you will. And it goes over treating patients with opioids, managing patients who are taking opioids, etc. Again, it's a one-time requirement that has to be done. Not every time that you renew your DEA registration is this required, just the next time. If you've never applied for a DEA registration/licensure, then you would also be required to fulfill this 8-hour training prior to your application. If you just renewed your DEA at the beginning of 2023 and you weren't having to do this because it didn't go into effect until June of 2023, so if you were renewing right before that requirement went into place, you will be okay until your next renewal, but you would have to do that 8-hour training before your next renewal in order to receive your renewal again. There are 3 situations where a provider is not required to fulfill this training. The first one is if you are board certified, you have an active board certification in addictive medicine or addiction psychiatry. Probably because it's in your board certification and that's what your specialty is in. So it would make sense you wouldn't have to do it. The second one is if you are a mid-level, like a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, or a recent grad of medical school, whether it was DO or MD, that required you to take this information, this course, at your school in order to graduate. It was a term of your graduation that you had to take a course on this and you fulfill it with that requirement. So you would just put down that you have fulfilled the requirement and it was through your schooling, your professional schooling. The third is if you have ever applied for and been approved for the DEA designation, which is the prescribing for buprenorphine. I always say that. I have a hard time saying it, so forgive me if I don't say it right. But for buprenorphine, if you were approved, you took that 8-hour course that's required in order to get that additional certification for the buprenorphine prescribing, then that covers you in this as well. You don't have to take another 8 hours, which is really fair, I think, because I think from my understanding, that training is very intense. So it's fair and in my eyes, good for the people that don't have to do additional. But if you don't fit into those 3 areas, then you do need to make sure, again, that you're taking an 8-hour course, a training before your next DEA registration. And when you're registering for extending or renewing your DEA, it's going to ask you about this. So you need to make sure you're prepared to give the information and that you have proof that you completed it. There are a lot of free trainings out there to give to providers that you don't have to pay that qualifies for this. And that's very exciting. The AMA website is one of those places where you can find those courses that are available that are either free or a small fee. I will put the link in the video description for your accessibility, so make sure you check that out. And you also on a lot of these get CME credits. So it's a win-win. You get the qualification or the requirement fulfilled for your DEA renewal, but you also will get some continuing ed credits. And we all know that continuing ed, it kind of is one of those things that a lot of us try to scramble at the last minute to fulfill. So at least you would get a little bit of time for that. I don't think it's a ton, but at the same time, it's something. So anyway, if you're not aware of this, do your own research, look into this further, but you do need to make sure that you have that 8-hour training completed before your next registration, licensure, DEA renewal. Again, the link to the AMA where there's information about this for you, as well as courses that will qualify for fulfilling that requirement, will be in the link in the video description. If you have any questions or comments about that, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this with your colleagues who need to be aware of what's going on in the world of DEA and prescribing medications. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.